Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Going to get to sound bites from my interview with appearance on Thom Hartmann's program on Fox News Radio Network here in just a moment. A couple of quick items to get out. This is part of the Fire Hose Friday. Deliver as much content as I can possibly deliver. So many stories, so little time. Right-to-work states are states where you do not have to belong to a union in order to have a job. And there are 22 states that have right-to-work laws where you're not obligated, you cannot be forced to join a union to hold down a job. Now, these are the states where manufacturing is flourishing. Here's a piece from freebeacon.com. Right-to-work laws have led to skyrocketing manufacturing growth in the auto industry, according to a new study by the National Institute of Labor's Relations Research. Quote, considering just the 22 states that had right-to-work laws from 2002 to 2012, the right-to-work share of nationwide automotive manufacturing output grew from 36% to 52% over the decade. So the beginning of the decade, just 36% of the automotive manufacturing output was in right-to-work states. By the end of the decade, it was 52%. Here's the bottom line. The real manufacturing GDP in these 22 right-to-work states grew by 87% over the decade, but fell by 2% in forced unionism states. And the reason simply is if you have a right-to-work state, then wages can fluctuate to accommodate demand. Union contracts often create such burdens on employers that they have to go out of business. They cannot afford to pay their union workers what the contract demands, and so they just fold their doors, close their doors, and go out of business. This was hilarious to me. This is a report on The Guardian in the UK on a report that says that the National Health Service in Britain is the world's best healthcare system. And they rated the healthcare system in the United States as the worst. Here's the piece from The Guardian. The NHS, that's the National Health Service in Britain, the UK, it's single payer. This is utopia for progressives and liberals. The NHS has been declared the world's best healthcare system by an international panel of experts who rated its care superior to countries which spend far more on health. This is a study done by the Commonwealth Fund. The United Kingdom ranks first overall, scoring highest on quality, access, and efficiency. The findings amount to a huge endorsement of the health service. So The Guardian, way left-leaning, this is a triumph. This proves that we were right. Single payer is the way to go. Now, listen to this. This just cracks me up. I mean, this is hilarious. So according to this Commonwealth Fund, they're best on providing effective care, safe care, coordinated care, patient-centered care, best for giving access to care for efficient use of resources. So all this, they're top of the heap. And listen to this. And I'm not making this up. I'm just reading you the words out of The Guardian. The only serious black mark against the NHS was its poor record on keeping people alive. So if you don't mind dying at an early age, this is the best healthcare system in the world. If dying prematurely bothers you, then the NHS is 10th in the world in healthcare. I mean, it just cracks me up. So this is the best healthcare system in the world, except that absolutely flunks on keeping people alive. And I don't know, they don't even seem to see how ridiculous they sound. On a composite Healthy Lives score, which include deaths among infants and patients who would have survived had they received timely and effective health care, the UK came in 10th. I mean, it just boggles the mind. First in everything, except the one thing that healthcare is supposed to be about, keeping people from dying. So anyway, that's just wow. You just got kind of makes your eyes cross. Now, let's get to some sound bites from my interview with Thom Hartmann the other night. Let's start with clip one. Thom Hartmann, he's now on the Fox News radio network, took Ed Schultz's place when he got out of the radio business. Apparently, Thom Hartmann has slipped into his role. So Thom Hartmann brings me on. This was 2 nights ago in advance of the March on Washington, the March for Marriage. I played you the excerpts from Governor Huckabee. It's time to defy the Supreme Court so that we may obey God. I mean, it was a strong pitch. These rulings from the Supreme Court on marriage, they are unjust. They have no moral authority. They have no legal authority. They have no constitutional authority. And it's time for the American people simply to defy them, because we have a responsibility to defy unjust laws, and instead we need to obey God. So Thom Hartmann brings me on to talk about the whole issue of marriage. Here is clip number 1 from my appearance on the Thom Hartmann program.
Brian, welcome back to the program.
Tom, good to be with you.
I understand, A, you disagree with the biblical definition of marriage, and B, that on Thursday this week you've got a march in Washington, D.C. To promote your own particular perspective on marriage.
No, actually, I agree with the biblical definition of marriage, God's definition of marriage.
So you think if my brother dies, I've got to marry his wife?
Genesis 2:24, you quoted it, Tom. Marriage is the union of one man and one woman. Jesus confirmed that in Matthew 19 when he quoted Genesis 2:24. Marriage is the union of one man and one woman. So I agree with Jesus' definition of marriage, yes.
So Genesis 16 is irrelevant?
1 Corinthians 7:2, if you're talking about Christianity, which is what we're talking about here, Paul said each man should have his own wife, each wife should have her own husband. I agree with the Christian definition of marriage, the Bible's definition of marriage, God's definition of marriage, Jesus' definition of marriage.
Okay.
Yes, I agree with
So you're ignoring all these other definitions that are in the Bible?
Well, it's nice of you to throw all that chaff in the air, Tom, but we're talking here about the basic definition of marriage. It's never changed, Genesis 2:24. Jesus said in Matthew 19, you had these various exceptions. From the beginning, he said it was not this way. So we're going back to the original blueprint, one man, one woman for life. That's marriage.
From one religion. Okay.
Well, from God. I mean, God made man, so he has the right to, he designed us for marriage. He knows what he's talking about. The owner's manual says one man, one woman.
Yeah, for your God. I got it.
For the God. There's only one God, Tom.
So that's the first exchange with Thom Hartmann. As you can see, every appearance I make on Thom Hartmann's program, it's like a cage fight with this guy. The exchange is vigorous. Here is clip number 2 where he asked me about the march.
Tell me about your march.
Well, we're marching on Thursday to protect marriage. We believe natural marriage is the institution that God designed for human happiness, as the cornerstone for civilization, as the place where sexual expression can be legitimately enjoyed, and the best environment for children. So yes, you better believe we support it. We're going to march to defend it.
So how does my friend Carl marrying his partner Gary destroy your marriage?
Same way that circulation of counterfeit $20 bills diminishes the value of the currency in your wallet.
I don't understand.
Counterfeits diminish the value of the real thing.
So you're saying that if somebody's gay, that their love is counterfeit?
It's
that they're not as human as you are?
No, I'm saying their marriage is counterfeit.
You're saying that their love doesn't count. Their love is counterfeit.
That's a counterfeit marriage. Now, they're human beings made in the image of God, so they're capable of making better sexual choices.
Whew. You really believe this, Brian? Do you realize do you have any idea how bigoted you sound?
Tom, let me ask you one question. Do you think I care whether you personally think I'm a bigot or not?
That stopped him in his tracks for a second. All right, here is soundbite number 3, exchange with Thom Hartmann.
I don't know of any gay people who said, yeah, I made a choice to be gay. Now, you could choose to be in the closet, I suppose, which is, I guess, what you're advocating?
Oh, the latest research from the United Kingdom, Tom, and I realize you may not be current on the latest scientific research here, but they've indicated that while they think genes may play some role in influence, homosexual behavior is always, at the end of the day, a matter of choice. That's the latest in scientific genetic.
So you're telling me, Brian, that for you could have sex with a man and enjoy it, that it's a matter of choice.
I'm telling you that the best and the latest in medical, scientific, and biological research indicates that nobody is born gay. Sexual behavior always is a matter of choice.
So you could have sex with a man and enjoy it, but you're choosing not to.
Sexual behavior is always a matter of choice. God has
Okay.
designed sexual behavior for the marriage relationship between one man and one woman. That's what we're going to celebrate and defend on Thursday.
Okay. Well, respectfully, it's not a matter of a choice for me. I would not enjoy having sex with a man, frankly. And I do enjoy having sex with my wife. So.
And that's what you were designed for, Tom. You were operating according to God's blueprint. Good for you.
So that was exchange number 3, and here is the final exchange, and maybe we'll take some phone calls. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Again, it's Free for All Friday. We'll take your calls on anything you want to talk about that's been in the news. Maybe you have some reaction to my vigorous exchange with Thom Hartmann on the issue of marriage. Here is the final exchange between me and Thom Hartmann.
Well, nobody is born gay. I'm not the one that's saying this, Tom. It's the latest in scientific research. You're welcome to.
Yeah, that
and
cigarettes don't cause cancer and global warming
choose.
isn't real. Yeah,
Well, you're welcome to deny the latest in research, Tom, but we believe we ought to be science-based in our approach to
No, you
domestic
don't,
policy.
Brian. This has got nothing to do with science. So you believe that you should be able to quote the Bible and ignore large chunks of the Bible.
Well, Tom, perhaps you're not aware of the research from the Centers for Disease Control. Again, this is not the
Brian,
Bible.
again, I have to ask this question.
But Tom, let me finish.
If being straight or gay for you is a choice, is that because you're bisexual?
Finish my thought. If you want to let me finish my thought, Tom, Centers for Disease Control indicate that homosexual behavior is just as risky to human health as intravenous drug use. I believe our policies ought to be the same for both. Intravenous drug use is the choice, so is homosexual behavior.
So you have the ability, you, Brian Fisher, have the ability to choose to be straight or gay.
No, human beings have the capacity to
You don't have the ability to choose.
Human beings have the capacity to make correct moral choices when it comes to sexual behavior.
I think that's only true of bisexuals.
True of everybody.
So that's how it went. A cage fight, as always, with my good buddy, Thom Hartmann. And, Jeff was making the point, just in my ear here, we're listening to Tom. I mean, it is amazing to me, and we'll carry this over and start into the next segment, but how the left completely wigs out when I start talking about genetic research and the research that's been compiled by the Centers for Disease Control. It freaks them out. It wigs them out. They can't handle it. They cannot handle the truth. Focal Point AFR Talk.